Welcome, everybody, to Drive Through Sports with Adam and Paul. It is Tuesday, May the 12th, 2020. Got a little bit different look tonight, and it's going with a little different background, and giving you guys sort of a bulleted list of our topics tonight. We used to do that just with let you guess with our backdrops, but we've decided to do a little pub here for ourselves and go ahead and do a bulleted list of our topics so you guys can follow along and see what you are about to witness and hear as me and Brees get started here. Encourage everybody to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Drive Through Sports with Adam and Paul, as well as follow our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart. So, Brees, man, what's going on in Berlin tonight?
A little sprinkle, a little chilly, and the college kids are taking exams, and they're stressed to the hills. And I did not personally take any exams today. I had a day off.
It's
Sociology,
an off day.
Sociology's coming up tomorrow.
I thought he already had sociology.
Well, that was just the cramming of a whole semester into a day and a half.
Ouch.
In online learning, as teachers would know, we kind of lose track of the days. And when the exam schedule popped up, he was like, "Oh, I guess I need to start looking over."
I guess I need to get going.
He's got a little bit of us in him, so
little catching up to do. That's all right. He's got time. Again, also as you guys can see here, we also have a brand new Twitter feed. So check us out on Twitter at DThruSports. And you can tag us in anything that you see that you think we might be interested in at DThruSports. So I also want to hype up our Facebook Live Friday nights at 9 p.m. We'll be doing that again. And that should be interesting. It always is. It devolved last Friday into a WrestleMania. Every favorite wrestler made the list last week, but it was a lot of fun, and we enjoyed doing it. So we've got a good show tonight. I think it's going to be a really good show. A lot of good stuff on tap. We're going to, of course, wrap it up all in a bow for you guys with some human interest at the end. Little gander into the lives of a young Paul Brees and a young Adam Freeman in our formative years. But starting off, Paul, I've got on here, and you asked me about this in the pre-show. You said, what is 2020 NBA champs? And if you can tell there, I've got a couple asterisks, or what's the plural of asterisks? Asteri?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never thought about that. But maybe I have two asteri after 2020 NBA champs. And the reason I did that is because if they have a season, the team that comes out, the winner, is there going to be an asterisk? Should there be an asterisk? Because of even if they play the 20 games and then do the playoffs, should there be an asterisk? And will there be one? Will history show that? Just interested to hear your thoughts there, Brees.
It'll be interesting to see what the they did the NBA players poll, I guess, was it today?
Yeah, they had the superstars had a conference call, and I don't know what all that must have sounded like, but a lot of them are pushing for them to continue and to resume. Thing about it is they kind of want to have their cake and eat it too. A lot of them have been very vocal about not wanting to play in empty gyms and without fans. And that may be the only way that gets done.
Yeah.
So you want to play, but the only way you can do it is if you can get approval of, if the states can approve you to do that. And it's probably going to be in an empty gym somewhere.
Well, I heard an interesting statement from a player that was not a high, big money guy, big contract guy. And he said, 90% of the players in the NBA kind of live paycheck to paycheck. Obviously, me and you could probably handle that paycheck to paycheck. But he did say they felt like it was going to be overwhelming a yes to getting back to playing, whether it be in front of everybody, but they felt like they needed to do it just for the sheer sake of a paycheck.
Wow. That's interesting. I've heard that about NFL players. The majority of the guys that we hear about in the NFL are the guys with huge contracts because that makes the news. But a lot of these guys, you're talking about a 53-man roster. They're not all making 7, 8, 10, 12 million dollars a year. A lot of them are making league minimum. And again, I think the league minimum is around $280,000, $300,000, which to me and you is like lottery money. But these guys are used to a certain standard of living, and those guys that have to grind it every year, and they may not have multi-year deals. They may be on a one-year contract, and their age becomes a factor, and they need to get their money. Now, NBA, I didn't realize that was the case as well. But it's just interesting to me to hear different sides of things. The superstars. LeBron James, obviously, he's going to push for it because, again, he's first in the West. He's got AD. He's in the second year of his 3-year contract with the Lakers, and wants to bring a title to LA. And I think they are the overwhelming favorite to do so. I think probably Milwaukee would come out of the East at this point. That would be a good series. But again, I'm not a huge NBA guy. I don't watch the regular season because I think it's garbage. They don't play defense. Nobody is even in the paint anymore. Seems like. So I typically don't even watch until the finals.
Yeah. Well,
I really don't care if they play the remaining 20 games. I would just assume them have a mini training camp, a 3-week deal where they all get in shape, get back in basketball shape, have some practices, 3 weeks worth of practices and workouts, and then just say, hey, look, who's 1 through 8 right now in the West? Who's 1 through 8 in the East? Let's go ahead and seed it up and start the playoffs. That's what I would like to see. Now they're not asking me, but I'm just saying I could care less about the last 20 games.
Well, there's only one team that is officially eliminated already from playoff hopes, and that's Golden State.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, Golden State, I'm sure if they voted right now, they'd be like, hey,
we're good.
Yeah, we're okay. We're out. But yeah, officially everyone is still, if the games were to conclude the same amount of games still remaining, everyone except Golden State has a chance. Now, obviously, you got Cleveland and Atlanta way back. No hope, no offense, you Hawk fans, but the T-Wolves are way down there. But if you go 1 through 8 right now, you got the Lakers and Clippers 1, 2 in the West, Denver, Utah, OKC, Houston, Dallas, and then my favorite, the Memphis Grizzlies.
The Grizz would play the Lakers in round 1.
That's right.
Your boy Ja Morant.
That's exactly right. And the East would be Milwaukee, Toronto, and Boston. And then you got the Heat, Indy, Philly.
Tyler Hero.
How about the Brooklyn Nets at 7 and the Orlando Magic at 8?
Interesting. It's kind of funny how this has worked out. Kevin Durant being out. He really hasn't missed very much. And he's rehabbing and everything. So he really doesn't factor into anything. But I think those are 16 good teams. I think you'll have, right off the bat in the first round, you'll have 8 good series, I think, with the exception of maybe the top, the 1s and 8s. I think they'll be, the rest of them will be very competitive because it's a different type of bat. It's like they flip a switch when it gets to playoff time and they start playing defense. Like if you look at the average number of points per game in the playoffs versus regular season, it's like they're just screwing around in the regular season. And then they finally, when the title's online, they finally go and get after it a little bit.
Yeah. So to kind of to wrap this up, I think there's kind of a two-thought process. One is basketball had already started, and now how do they want to finish? Whereas, as we're going to talk about, baseball has not started, and people can kind of, jump on board baseball knowing that day one hasn't really started. I think most sports fans would kind of call the NBA a wash until maybe the finals. If they, I mean, I don't think I would be very interested to follow the season unless it was the only thing on, like you said.
Yeah.
And I think what is hurting the NBA and even the NHL is that their season got stopped, and now they got to try to get some momentum going to get it back going where fans are, because if you have a choice, baseball or NBA, we obviously know what you're going to pick, right?
Oh yeah. I'm
And
not even close.
so a sports fan, so you got like a Braves fan or a Hawks fan. I know this is totally not a fair fight, but I mean the Hawks are out of it, and the Braves haven't played a game, so technically they're in first place. They still have a shot at the World Series, right? So
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, I think
you
that's the
lose a
general.
lot. Yeah, you lose a lot of fans as far as, and that's just a bad deal for the NBA, unfortunately. But I think now as we move to baseball, it's man, I think even more fans are going to come back and just take a hold of MLB.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. And then we'll get to that's our next topic is MLB opening day. The owners put together a plan yesterday. They were giving it to the players today, and there were several caveats along with that. The international designated hitter, 82 game season, just playing divisional opponents, and interleague games possible in your sort of region. So for the Dodgers, huge Dodger fan, they're playing the Rockies, the Diamondbacks, the Giants. Um,
Padres.
Padre, I forgot about the
Come on.
Padres. And the Padres exclusively. Okay, which normally they would play them, I think, 16 times every year. All right, so you might be able to still do that, and then you have 18 interleague games with the Angels, Mariners.
Right.
I don't think there's any Oakland A's, maybe.
Yeah.
So you have 18 games between those three teams. Maybe you do it home with each team.
They would also be involved with the Rangers and the Astros.
Okay. Yeah.
They went west versus west,
right.
which I think is what they were talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, it's not like you're going to have any shortage of games, but I mean, if you're the Dodgers, you got to like that setup because the NL West is predicted to be pretty weak this year. So they're, the figure that they would win their 10th in a row or whatever it is, and be set up for the playoffs. They're also talking about adding an additional team to the mix, so to the playoff mix. I think it could work. The only thing that you have to worry about is, where are they going to play? They're going to play without fans. That's pretty much already been decided, and that was in the proposal that they had talked about, that there's not going to be any fans. So there's a possibility that they'll be playing in major league stadiums, though, just without fans. So here's my thing. Like, let's say that this goes and they agree and everything and the money and all this stuff, and they agree and they put a schedule out. Okay. And the Braves play the Cardinals on opening day, which is slated for July 4th, by the way. And so open at home on July 4th with no fans. The Battery, which is the area around Truist Park, are you telling me that place isn't going to be like New Year's Eve? It's going to be crazy. There's going to be so many people. There'll be 40,000 people outside the ballpark, in the parking lots, like tailgating. I mean, I don't. Part of me doesn't get. Just let them in. They're around anyway. Like, they're around each other anyway. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, obviously it would be a circus.
I mean, don't you agree that that it would be crazy? Like they have an opening day game and they play it in the Major League Stadium because the governor is let's open everything back up, and that's the way he's been. And so you're hearing the crack of the bat from outside the stadium. You can't go in. People are just going to be all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
So by having no fans in that way, you can't keep fans from going down there.
Well, unless they set up an exterior barricade to kind of push them outside of view, or you know what I'm saying. But
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but I mean, like, I've been to games down there before where, I've parked 3/4 of a mile away. There's all these hotels around there that charge for parking. And it's just gonna be like a giant tailgate party
yeah,
in those parking lots. And people are gonna be not social distancing. And so if it's gonna be that, if you're creating that environment, I don't see why you just don't let them in.
well, well, I think too many. You can't let too many in if you're
Yeah,
gonna let.
you would have to limit. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
right.
could limit how many, because you could space them out if you needed to do that. Like, 2 seats between each person or whatever.
There was two things that came out today from different perspectives. The Arizona governor has come out and said, "Hey, starting Saturday, pro sports, you can go back in.
Okay.
Everybody
Well,
can.
that's huge.
Yeah, they can resume without fans on Saturday." Then, just up the map a little bit, California, LA County came out and said we're extending the stay at home until the 1st of August.
What?
So that's what I read. It just came out probably about 2 hours ago, our time, and
Wow.
that could really, we'll talk about it probably tomorrow once we get more information. But that could put a big kink in college football for sure. I think pro football, they can take the Chargers and they can take the Rams and they can push them. If they're not going to play in front of fans anyway, they can take them to another state.
Yeah,
Like
but see, that would be after August 1st anyway.
right.
That would be in September. They usually start in first week of September, I think. Labor Day weekend,
The
maybe. Usually
preseason
first
probably starts in the middle.
right, preseason, middle of August, right.
You know what? But that would kill like UCLA, USC.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
Oregon.
and I need to do some more research to see if they're actually in LA County. It'd be like in Davidson County or whatever.
Yeah, I think USC is in LA County. I think it
So,
is.
I
And
mean,
I'm
that could be a
pretty
huge
sure
problem.
UCLA is.
Well, I was going to say that could be a huge problem. Players from these two major schools, they're going to want to, like, if they're riding on the hopes of getting drafted, they're
Yeah.
going to want to go and play for somebody this year.
Yeah.
The NCAA allow them to do that. Listen,
Yeah, yeah. Your boy James Franklin stirring the pot. Say, hey, don't penalize, 25. Don't penalize the 75% of us that can go if 25%
yeah,
they say they can't. I
yeah,
mean, this guy, wow.
yeah. So anyway, we'll talk about that
Yeah,
once we get some more information on that.
yeah. All right. So now here's the one. This is the topic I've been looking forward to tonight. Talking about the 1985 NBA draft, which, as you can see, Brees has that picture of David Stern. Now, what's interesting, there's so many layers to this. I mean, I was 14, 13 years old when this occurred. Patrick Ewing was going to be unanimous number one pick, but this was the first draft where they didn't do a coin flip, and they did it in this fashion. Were you aware of that?
I didn't know that this was the first year that they had done the envelopes.
This was the first year for the envelopes, and
well, let me interject. The gentleman that helped David Stern in the NBA, right? Is he now like an executive director or something with the Golden State Warriors or something?
are you talking about the guy who put the envelopes in?
I don't. Yeah, maybe.
No, he was an accountant. He was
Okay.
an accountant for. Well, this is interesting. Okay.
Yeah, how it all? Did you see that? How it all triangled together?
So he's an accountant for Ernst and Whitney, and Ernst and Whitney, the Madison Square Garden was one of their accounts. Well, Madison Square Garden was owned by Gulf and Western. Okay, so one of the conspiracies is the guy from the Garden just said, "Hey, just tell because he knew that Ernst and Whitney was represented the NBA and they were going to be in charge. Just said, hey, look, you tell those guys at Ernst and Whitney that if Patrick Ewing doesn't if the Knicks don't get the first pick, that that they're fired as representation." And that meant that Gulf and Western, who was their parent company, would have fired them too. Right. So there's all this, I would call it like an incestuous relationship between, the accounting firm and the owners of the Garden and the New York Knicks. So the guy who put the envelope in, there's several theories, and you've probably heard all of them. The bent envelope theory.
Yes.
Okay. So the guy, David Warner, I think was his name, who put the envelope in, banged the envelope against the opening, so crimped the edge. Okay, and you can sort of see in the foot, if you watch the drawing, you can see Stern really taking a close look as things are moving around in there. So it would be easier for him to spot or feel it or whatever. Okay, that's just one theory. Now, and it's not even the most interesting one. The most interesting one to me, obviously, we say is the frozen envelope. So
that is awesome.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine having like some dude, like the guy from the accountant, going into like the refrigerator out in the back in the kitchen at the hotel, pulling this envelope out, and it's cold to the touch, and he puts in there with 6 other envelopes. That way, when Stern, like, they roll it around a couple times, and Stern gets to, oh, that's cold. Oh, that's the next one. Okay,
yeah,
he pulls it out. So
now, obviously, did you? They had set it on dry ice, right? Is
dry ice? Either dry ice, or the theory was it was put on dry ice, or it was put in a refrigerator, so that the envelope was cold. That's theory number 2. And it seems to be one of the prevailing theories, but I like there's one more. I don't know if you've heard of this one, the special glasses.
The infrared.
Yes, the infrared glasses. David Stern was wearing special infrared glasses, and the envelope had some sort of like
writing,
something written on it that could only be seen through infrared goggles. And he had these special lenses, and he could see which one said New York on it or whatever. So it was just, it's very fascinating. If you enjoy rabbit holes and you enjoy conspiracy theories, Brees, you really tapped into one tonight, because you could spend hours on the internet reading and watching these things, and it was very entertaining for me to go through there and check that stuff out.
Yeah. Cool. Real quick, I'm going to give a quick rundown since it was 1 through 7 on the draft. Obviously, Ewing went to the Knicks, number 1.
Yep.
Wayne Tisdale, number 2 to the Pacers.
Yep.
Okay player. Number 3, Benoit Benjamin, the center.
Clippers, got to be.
Goes to the Clippers.
Of course.
I felt like this was a pretty good draft pick for the Seattle Supersonics. Xavier McDaniel.
The X-Man, that's your boy, man.
Yeah. Here's where the Hawks, number 5.
Wait. Hold on. 1985.
Go down the hill. One of my favorite all-time players.
Scott, surely it wouldn't have been Neek. He would have been higher. John Contact. Was it really? Oh, my.
Yes, sir. And then right behind him at number 6, the Sacramento Kings, Joe Klein.
Holy cow.
And then the guy at number 7, who I think had the second best NBA career, Chris Mullin to the Warriors.
Wow. Now you're talking about the first 7 picks.
The draft was,
4 centers.
Yeah, exactly.
4 centers. It was all about the big man in the mid-'80s, man. All about the big man.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting how that Joe Klein, holy cow. He was out of Arkansas, right?
No wonder the Knicks and Madison Square Garden and David Stern were doing everything possible because picks 2 through 6, not very market friendly, or really
No.
2 through 7. Mullen, I mean, he turned out to be pretty good, but
Yeah.
putting him on a side of a billboard on an office building, probably not enticing
Not,
ticket sellers.
no. Well, even if even if the Knicks pick him because he's a local guy, he was a St. John's guy, so who knows, But if they hadn't frozen the envelope, they might have picked 7th and taken Mullen. Who knows? That's funny though. All right, so that gets us to your topic for human interest, which you came up with this today, and I thought it was interesting. Creative childhood games. Now, it's kind of because nowadays I see, more kids painting on the sidewalk with chalk than I ever had in my entire life.
Right.
Getting outside, riding bikes, doing stuff like that. We had some things like that we did, and on a rainy day, what are you going to do, on a rainy day, when you got no, didn't even have an Atari or a Xbox or cable TV.
Exactly.
If you had cable, you had 13 channels.
Right.
So what's your creative childhood game? I think I know where you're going with this.
Well, obviously, as we touch on these human interest stories, we want to make sure that, kids of today don't understand that it would only take a few pieces of equipment and we could come up with something. Now, when Adam and I used to get together, we even did this at your house, I believe, too.
Yeah. We did in the dining room, living room area.
Correct. So we would take a Nerf basketball.
Yep.
And what I would call a Broadway show cane.
It was a cane.
Yeah.
If he came over to my house, I'd be like, hey, it's raining. Bring the cane.
Yeah. And we would play, did we call it stickball?
I mean, people would call it stickball, but we had a different name for it. I guess we called it stickball, but when we were at your house, I don't know if my house had a stadium name.
No.
It didn't. It wasn't special enough to have a stadium name, but your house.
Our home field, my home field, our back door patio area had windows that went from one wall to the next wall.
It was like, it was complete windows.
Again, no professional sports in Nashville back in the day except for the Nashville Sounds. So we called it Greer Glass Stadium. And we would play innings. We would
play the whole.
And dude, we were pitching the Nerf ball within, I don't know, 15 feet of each other.
Oh yeah, 15, 20 feet. You were getting the opposite end. Okay, like the way your living room was, you had the glass doors on one end.
Right.
On the other end, there was a fireplace and 2 large openings, which played very pivotal roles in Greer Glass Stadium stickball games, because if you could hit it into the lobby, depending on which side you went into, one was a double and one was a home run. So you would stand in that back corner, or the pitcher one of us would stand in the back corner, and then the other person was up by the piano. There was a baby grand piano that his mom played. She was a musician, and she would have that thing in there, and it was in the corner in front of Greer Glass doors. And we would stand right. That was home plate, was right beside the piano. So, as you could imagine, there were certain instances where the Broadway cane was not so conducive to swinging it indoors. And on one occasion, I happened to be batting. And it was raining outside. We were bored. I'm batting. His mom's not there, and I don't know what happened. I don't think it came out of my hand.
No,
but I think I golfed one.
Yeah.
And the top of that cane scraped the ceiling and left this big old black mark on top of the ceiling. And Paul, I thought you were going to have a heart attack right there. And I'm like, oh, it's no big deal. She's not even going to notice. And what was your response to that?
I really can't remember. I just know that we obviously played this game when my mom was never around. So she
never, not at home. Yeah.
That indoor stickball greer glass was taking place. And, obviously we had the different rules and the scoring system and all that we had created. But when you made that mark on the ceiling, I was like, ball game.
Ball game. That's it. You're thinking, all right, here are the repercussions of this. Number one, I'm grounded for I don't know how long. Number two, I may not ever see Freeman over here again, ever. He may be banned from this house if she finds out that it was him. What was her reaction when she saw it?
What is that? How did that happen?
Well, did you run again?
No. I mean, at this time, you were driving. We were driving, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, just the fear factor of maybe taking my car away or whatever. I couldn't go over to your house or
you
hang out on the weekend.
Couldn't be as impulsive, so you had to kind of fess up to it a little bit.
I think unless you can remember and recall something.
I don't remember anything specific that she said, although I do remember the next time I saw her at church, I got the stink eye from Shirley big time. And she, because she would always call me free bird. She just looked at me like, free bird. I was like, uh-oh. I was like, I know what that was for.
Well, I will just say this. Indoor stickball greer glass continued even on.
It did. We would not let that deter us any other times when we were super bored and we were hanging out over there. I think we may have modified it a little bit to where we started using just our hands maybe after that as bats. I don't know. It was a lot more difficult. It was a lot more difficult with the Broadway cane. I will tell you that much. That was legit.
A little more challenging.
As anybody knows, you can make a Nerf ball break about 2.5 feet. You put a little spin on it. You can get a nasty, wicked slider going from about 20 feet away. And Brees always liked to brush me back before he dropped one of those on me. So he had me lunging all over the place.
Go high and tight and then go down
high
low.
And tight. That's right, man. Make him chase.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Well, guys, we appreciate you guys tuning in for tonight's episode. Again, check out our Twitter account at Thru Sports and tag us on anything that you may think we might enjoy talking about. As well as check us out on our YouTube channel, Drive Thru Sports with Adam and Paul, and our podcast, Drive Thru Sports with Adam and Paul, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeart, and Spotify. For Paul Brees in Brentwood, Tennessee, I am Adam Freeman in Atlanta, Georgia. You've been listening to Drive Thru Sports with Adam and Paul.